Now the next focus is working with classes. Classes in that. So what are classes, right? Let me say, if you are going to build a house, right? So let's say if you are going to build a house, the plan is to build a house, and from that house, before you get the house, you need to have a plan, right? So you have the building plan, like how the house will look like, the structure, what it should contain, what you should have, what you need to buy, building plan, and out of that building plan, you can build a house, the actual house from it, right? So you can build many houses out of them, right? For the house. So you just have the plan, and anyone that to build that needs to adapt to that plan, follow that plan extremely. Maybe um, um, let's say there's an agent that actually helps to build plan. So we go, we agree, they have a particular building plan, and from on that plan, every client needs to build their house from that plan. But then they can have preferences like the color and all that, right? Those things are specific things. But then all these houses, the basic structure, they have it before they now modify their own preferences. Another way of seeing it is that even mobile phones. So there are various mobile phones, right? So we have for the Samsung family, so we have a particular blueprint for how the plan for the structure of a Samsung phone, right? So we have we should call them blueprint in that case. And then the blueprint will be the one that will contain what should be the name, what should be the brand, the color, and everything. So whatever you are going to, whatever Samsung phone you are going to do, you see, they are all going to have the same structure, but then there will be color, there will be size, there will be um, speed and all that, memory capacity that are different, but they all follow the same structure, the same plan. And out of the same plan, we can build as many houses as we want, right? The same thing happen in programming, that we also have to create a building plan, and out of the building plan, we create objects out of them, right? The class is the blueprint, and the objects are the actual items you are getting from the blueprint. So you can use the blueprint many times to create different instances or different objects out of the same plan. And different objects may have different preferences at their color and age and the time they were created. But then they all come from that basic plan or blueprint. So yes. So now how do we now create class? You can look at it as blueprint, or you can look at it as building plan. Before you, out of the building plan, you build many houses out of them. So let's start with classes. So for classes as well, you need to make sure that we are not inside the main function, right? The main function is when something is ready, we go and put it in the main functions and use it. So main function is also kept there. So now first, let's build our own first class. So let me build yes, as a Samsung class, right? So let me call the class. So this is how the structure is a class, right? We have to use the keyword class. Once it is a class, you need to call it a class. It should be a class. So when you start with the keyword class, it means that what we are coming to follow up, what is going to follow up is going to be a blueprint. Okay. So let me call it so let me call it mobile phone, right? And then we have this. Now look at the structure. There's no there's no curly brackets like functions. Functions have name and then, but then see the name. The name for a class, right, starts with capital M, capital letter. The name should start with capital letter, even though you are following the camel case, right? But the name for variables, for a variable, when we were learning variable, we told you guys that you need to do something like, if it were a variable, it would be mobile phone, right? So you see the beginning is small letter, and the rest of the word be following the camel case. But then when you use this one, starts with mobile phone. What you are building here, this is a particular, it's a name format for a class in that. So if you see the capital M, that's why we're not using the capital letter to start when we're doing variable. Starting with a capital letter is actually for classes. So now we know why it is reserved. So it's for classes. The same thing, but then whenever it's capital letter, I mean the thing is a class. Okay. So now for that particular class, it have different stuff. So we have to, it has properties. So we have to start with the properties. Properties goes here, and then key actions or methods come here. So we have something called constructor. So if someone wants to start using this mobile phone, how is he going to use it? How is he going to build it? Right, the constructor takes care of that. And then the properties are the basic stuff that you need to know about the mobile phone, right? So now let's build some of them. Let's write some of them. So it's going to be like contain variable. This class is going to contain various variable. Let's call it um int brand, right? The brand is going to be a string. The brand is going to be a string. Let me call it. So this is a variable brand. Let me equate it to Samsung. No, you need to know to set it here. So you need to just set the brand over here. Um, Now we need to go to memory capacity, right? So double memory capacity. These are variable. Properties are variables, right? Memory capacity will also come here. What other thing again? The brand, maybe something like Samsung or iPhone. So color, right? So let me go for color, right? Color is which color? Color should be a string, right? So let's say color, right? Okay. So now there are some things that we are facing here. We are talking about um we are talking about non-nullable sound type, right? So for us to make it nullable, right? What you need to do is that we need to use the um question mark on it. Do you remember? Is to make sure that this variable can accept a null value. That's why it is like that. That's why it is like this. And then but then we need to use this class. This is a simple blueprint, right? This is a simple blueprint. So far we just put in properties. So far we just put in properties. So we need to access those properties, right? But before we do that, we need to have a constructor. So the constructor, this is how we are going to tell the person if you want to construct this, just use mobile phone, right? And then you are done with that. Just call it like this, mobile phone, and you'll be able to build it like that. So remember, this is the blueprint or the basic plan. It's on paper. Assuming like this one is on paper, you can't use it directly. It is on paper. It's the paper plan. But out of the paper plan, we need to build samples of samples of actual objects. We don't want to use the paper. This is just a plan, right? But we want actual house that we can actually manipulate or use. So let's go to main function, right? In the main function, we are going to build mobile apps, right? Okay. Now, so they also come in the form class name, class name, custom name equals to class constructor. Then this is the format of actually building using a particular class. So you have to state the class name. The class name becomes the data type now, right? So custom. The class name becomes the data type. It's no more int, integer, and all that, but it is actually the class name, right? So what the class name here? Mobile phone. The class name is a mobile phone. So we are going to go like that and say mobile phone. That's the class name, right? The custom name is like the name you yourself here is a variable. It's the name of it's a variable that you use. So let me call it my phone one, right? Equals to now the class constructor. The class constructor is this one, right? So this is the constructor. I'll just copy it and then put it here. So that's the constructor. How to construct it. Sharp. So now this is good now. But now we have our first object from the class. I can build another object. Let me copy it. The same thing. Let me copy it and then paste it here. But this is my phone 2, right? So we are using the plan basically to build houses. This is house 1 or phone 1. This is phone 2. Okay, so what do we do with them? We need to first see, let's see their properties, right? Their brand, their memory capacity and color. How do we have access to them? And let me just comment this one so that we can focus on phone one. Now with phone one, let's try to get the brand here. Brand here. To access something, we use the dot operator. So we use the dot operator to access either the methods or the properties of the class. Use the dot operator, meaning that you write the name and then dot it. So here we have these are we only have properties so far and a constructor. Constructor is we know what it's used for. He used to write the function, right? And then what are the actions? What about the action? The action we haven't done it yet, but let's focus on the properties. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to print um so let's say we need to a variable, right? That will get us the so let me say final my um brand phone brand. Let me call it phone brand equals to my phone one dot brand. This is what we mean by the dot operator, right? So this is what we mean by this is we are calling my phone, right? And inside my phone for this particular phone, we want to access one of these properties, which is just brand. So if you look down here, we have brand, memory capacity, and color, right? So if you come here, you see that my phone dot brand. If you want to access another properties, you can say my phone one dot memory capacity, and it will come. Or my phone one dot what's the next property? My phone one dot color, right? You also access it, then you'll be able to have it stored. It will give you something that you store in a variable, right? So basically, we are just accessing the color of this particular phone. Let's print this. So if I print this, let me call it phone brand, right? If I print this, let's see what will come for us. Um, let me clear this, run this. It returns a null. It returns a null because when you go to this phone, right? When you go to this particular phone, you will see that we have we have called it. So this is the object we build it, right? And now we are calling its color, and in this color we are keeping it here. This is just a variable that we want to just keep the color of this particular phone, and we are printing that is now. Why is it now? Because when you go to the property side of this my mobile phone class, we say that it can be now if you haven't given it any value. There's a this question mark. We have talked about this already, that if it means that emptiness is accepted, right? So it's going to be now if nothing is given to it. That's why it returns now for us. Now let's find a way to make sure that we actually have um we actually get, how do you call it, a value from it. Yeah, let's go and then try to get a value from it, right? We need to spice a value. When you create a phone one, we want to make sure that when you create every phone, we need to give it a particular brand it belongs to. We need to give it a particular, because we are going to create another one, right? This phone one, phone two, but they are not the same, right? They all use the same plan, but then this one can have a different memory size than this one, or this particular phone can have like even a brand of Android, or this one is a brand of iOS or like iPhone, right? So we want, or Samsung, yes, we want the brand to be, but they are all coming from the same basic plan. But then they can some things like name and all that. It's the same thing for human beings. Like by when God is making us, we know that we need to have this structure: head, hand, legs by default, right? But different people come and different names and all that. But we all come from the basic building blueprint or basic plan. So this is something like the basic plan. And then anything that is built out of it, that those things can try to have their own unique names and all that. So, but how do we now set it? So it has to go to the constructor. We are going to say that when you are constructing this, you need to pass in some stuff. So before you pass it, you see this, the bracket is closed. So inside it, open another um curly bracket. right? I'm going to open it like this, and inside it, I'm expecting something like I'm going to call. So we have to do this. You say this dot brand, then that's what I want. You can pass brand to this one particularly. Particularly, you can pass the brand to this particular this. And that's what I'm just mean over here, right? So if you go to the top, we are saying that if you go to the top, meaning that you can now go here and now pass brand, right, equals to the brand is, let's say, iPhone. The brand is iPhone. For this one, the phone 2, let's say the brand is Samsung, for example. Is it M? Are they all M or so? Yeah, let me see. I think it's all M, Samsung. So now let's try to print for this particular phone brand, right? Hey, iPhone brand, I was calling color, so dot brand now. So if we call the phone 1, let me do the same thing for phone 2, copy, paste this one, but let me call it phone 1 brand and phone 2 brand, right? This is phone 1 brand, and then this is phone 2 brand. Then this one, I want you to get the phone 2. So now let me clear this and call this for us. So you see I have iPhone and Samsung. So the iPhone is coming from this particular phone 1, and then the Samsung is coming from this particular one by the dot operation. So this is the dot operation. So first, this one, you create it, use the blueprint to create it. After you create, when you are creating it, right, in the constructor, we say that what you have to pass the brand to it. So this the brand, right, will be the one to help you do that. Then what are we doing? Then we have this. Okay, so that one is set. When you are so this is another one, but this one is for Samsung. It's a Samsung phone. So these particular two things are not the same, even though they are all coming from the same class, right? So you can include more. If you put comma, you can include the memory capacity. Memory capacity, where is this dot memory capacity. Then you can go to the last one, this dot color, right? They will all pass them. So if you go here, so I'll put a comma, memory capacity will come, then I'll just 244.5 because it's a float, right? And then what's the memory capacity for this one? I think color is the next one. Let's say blue. Let's say blue, but I won't do the same thing for this one, right? This second one, because so these ones are going to be accepted inside it, and then they will be able to work because the constructor requires them over here. It is they are inside the constructor. Here you can decide to pass them or not, right? You can require to pass them or not. So the same way, the original ones could have also worked. This one also will have also worked. And then if you build it, there won't be any. The only thing is that the second one will have a now. The second one will have a now. Right? If you don't pass anything to it, we say that it's going to accept now. Right? That's what's going to happen. Now, what if some of the things, right, we don't want them to be now? Right? Something like if when you are creating this thing, we need at least we don't worry much about the color. We need at least for you to pass the brand and the memory capacity, brand and memory capacity. But let's start with brand. You need to tell us at least what the brand is, right? Right now, this one works, right? And if you apply it or not, works or not. But we want to make it strictly required. Strictly required. So you go to the constructor. So the constructor is the one determining how you construct, right? You need to go to the constructor for the brand. Before the brand, you write required this dot brand, right? So the key required makes it like it's very important for you to pass it. It's very important for you to pass it, right? So if you go to the string now, you see this guy, I can remove this one because The constructor says it's required, so you cannot build it without it. So this one shouldn't be accepting any null. Null is not accepted, right? But you can keep it. It doesn't give kill anything, doesn't do anything. But then when you are making it required, when the person is building it, it will now. But then see this one, we didn't make it required, so you see, it's giving us an error. It's giving us an error, right? It's giving us a warning. So if you put it because it's not required, right? Someone can decide to make it now, and that now is going to enter something that is not accepting it now, and we don't want that. So you require this. So if you go to this one, you see this one is forcing it to give you the brand because we have made the brand required. So brand, so brand is going to be, let me say Nokia. So let me clear it. So iPhone and Nokia at least. So any other thing. So if I make everything required to, then it's going to mean that they need to pass them. So you need to understand the scope of the project they are working on before when you are using the class. You decide whether to pass it this or that. And then in this case, since they are all required, I'll just remove this thing, right? Because they are all required before I can build it. So when they are all required, it means it's going to be calling me to definitely when I'm constructing, I need to pass in some values. And then color, I'm going to use yellow before I am free, before I will be free. And you can accept, you can, let me say phone one property, right? So that we can be changing. If I say brand, use you conclusion as property. Right, so the second property I want to get for phone one is memory capacity. I want to get a memory capacity. Phone one property. So this one, phone not property. This one too should be property, so it doesn't confuse you. So I can be changing this one. For this second one, I'm going to print its memory capacity as well. So to use the dot product to do that, this is for the first one and this is for the second one, and they are all here. And we can change it to go and check the color, right? Let's do the color one. Let's do the color, and then for this phone as well, let's just do the color. And then when we run this, blue and yellow. So the blue for the first one here, which is printed, and then the yellow coming from here. So this is how to use classes in that. So what we have done so far is just getting, we know how to do properties, and then we know how to work with the constructor. Now, the actions or methods will be the next thing that will be covered. It's very important for you to play around this one to master the properties and constructor. And then based on how you are twisting the particular constructor, the properties will also be changing. I mean, question mark or not. Yeah, these are the key values that are very important. I think we are good. We will be ready to do the next one, actions or methods.